Hey, what's going on, guys? For those who are not francophone or familiar with Stromae, he is a multi-talented Belgian artist that has been dormant for quite a while now. His last album was released back in 2010. It was an album entitled Cheese, and he's put out a few singles here and there throughout the years, but there were never any clear signs of him working on a new project or any signs of him putting out a newer album. And finally, here we are after 12 long years. His most recent album marks his grand return to music, his most recent album entitled Multitude. And I was so excited to hear this as soon as I heard that it was announced. For me, Stromae is a huge inspiration musically. He is, as I mentioned, multi-talented. He's a singer, rapper, songwriter, music producer. He blends elements of hip hop, electronic music, and other styles that can be found all in cultures all across the globe. He does it all. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the album, give you highlights and my thoughts on every single track found on this album. Track number one, entitled Invaincu, which translates to invincible or undefeated. The song features colorful choirs, brass-like synths, and there's a hint of overdubbing in certain parts of the song on Stromae's vocals, which I think it was done deliberately to add some depth to the lyrics and emphasis to certain parts of the lyrics. And there's one line that sticks with me on this song. It's a very brief song, honestly, but a really grand intro to the album as a whole. The line reads, "Tant que je suis en vie, je suis invaincu," which translates to, "As long as I am living, I'm invincible. You cannot defeat me." And as I mentioned, this song is big, vibrant, and it's oozing with life. Track number two, Santé, which translates to health. I really enjoy the strummed chords. There's an instrument used throughout this album, and it sounds like a ukulele. I haven't found any confirmation of what the instrument is, but for all intents and purposes, I will refer to it as a ukulele. There's also steady drums that keep the song moving along. Stromae is a very talented producer, and he uses a lot of layered percussive elements throughout all of this album and his music in general. And he describes the rhythmic patterns that are found on this song as being ternary, and he describes them as being a blend of cumbia and reggaeton. So he starts to implement some Latin elements in his music, which is really awesome to hear. I love the sound design that he used for the synths that are heard between the verses on this song. And Stromae flexes his rapping and his singing, as he tends to do, and manages to balance both well and still delivers a great tune that you can dance to. On this song, he speaks on celebrating the voiceless, the unsung heroes, everyday folk that we see, people that struggle day to day, working through their own difficult and exhausting situations for whatever their stories may be. Track number three, Lassitude, which I guess could translate to singlehood. This is a song that features beautifully muted synths that give the song a more subdued taste. You can feel a lot of rumbling under the surface, and Stromae's vocals and rich drums kind of sit just above the surface of the water. Towards the last third of the song, we hear a very beautiful stringed instrument, which I was trying to do some research, and I think it might be an eru. It's stringed instrument, a bowed instrument that we hear a lot in a lot of Asian and Eastern styles of music, but I don't have any confirmation. This song features a very gorgeous tune. I love the melodies on this song. And lyrically, the song is full of pain, exhaustion. Stromae sings of feeling single while being in a relationship, and the sorrow that comes with falling out of love with the person that you've been married to for God knows how long. And he speaks on the wear and tear on your spirit. And in the song, he also mentions what it feels like to leave a relationship like this and how empty you can continue to feel after a relationship like that ends formally, even though it may have ended way long before. Track number four, Fils de Joie, loosely translates to son of a hero. The instrumental includes a lot of steady, syncopated rhythms, which is not unusual for this album as a whole, and in the percussion. And there's a lot of staccato strings that give the song a lot of lively energy. Towards the end of the song, we can hear a beautiful arpeggiated melody on a harpsichord. Adds a really like regal tone and a lot of complexity to the song itself. The lyrical content of the song is honestly all over the place. Stromae sings from the perspectives of several different characters, including a man who's looking for a prostitute um, as a client. And then we hear from, I guess, like a pimp of sorts. We also hear from the son of what, as Stromae puts it, a son of a whore. And he eventually sings from the perspective of a cop. And this, I think that the song shines light on misogyny that Stromae has seen, maybe specifically in Belgium, of course, from varying perspectives, and it paints a multifaceted picture of from different focal points of what that can look like from person to person. Track number 5, entitled L'Enfer, which translates to loosely "This Hell." This is one of my favorite songs that Stromae has released to date. That includes his entire catalog of music, and it's one of those bigger singles that was released while on the rollout to this album. This song is massive, but it's also melancholic. Stromae sings of his sorrows, thoughts of suicide, and his own frustrations with what he describes as a never-ending hell, something that just continues. It's persistent. The song features a melancholic piano, huge vocal hits coming from a choir that sounds gigantic. It's huge. And Stromae, of course, his trademark singing is on this song as well. I especially love the synths that you can hear during the song's chorus. It's really cool stuff. They're sleek, they're bubbly, it's futuristic. I don't know. It's really awesome to hear. And the song, it sounds ahead of its time, if you ask me. I haven't really heard any other musicians putting out music that sounds quite like this, but I'm going to let you be the judge of that if you get a chance to hear it. Track number 6, Seiko Dibaner, which translates to "It's Only Happiness." This song features drums that have a ton of flavor and groove to them. I can hear a combination of samples and live recordings of drums, which he probably sampled. And it creates a beautifully layered approach to the percussion, as I mentioned before. He pays a lot of attention to his drums. The instrumental that accompanies the beat is especially rich. I can hear a lot of different instruments, something that sounds like a muted xylophone, maybe a marimba. Again, the ukulele, I don't think it's actually a ukulele, an accordion, and there could easily be a lot more that I might have missed. The lyrical content itself displays a contrast to the joyous energy that we can hear in the instrumental. Stromae sings directly towards someone who grew up with an absent father. You can sense that they have a lot of resentment towards fatherhood itself. But Stromae seems to have an encouraging mood when he's speaking to this person, and he encourages them to embrace the joy that comes with parenthood. And while there is a bit of a pessimistic tone present in the song, what truly reverberates is a certain kind of peace that comes with accepting things as they are. It's just kind of like accepting reality for what it is. Track number 7, Pas Vraiment, which translates to "Not Really." There is a beautiful flute, like a pan flute, that ushers in a very new tone, very distinct sound on this song. And it's accompanied by what, to me, tastes like a plucked synth, which is akin to maybe marimba or something like that. We get to hear more layered drums that give the song a steady, like, Afrobeat rhythm. And while it is a small touch, I love the uses of reverb in different elements of this song. It adds a lot of color and progression to the sound of the song as a whole. Lyrically, Stromae speaks on a loveless relationship, one where both parties, the two involved in the relationship, and even outsiders looking into the relationship, all wondering why these two continue to be in this relationship together when everybody knows that they no longer love each other. Track number 8, Rire, which means laugh. This song features genuinely beautiful melodies that are heard on stringed instruments that I can't really identify, but they kind of taste like a violin. The drums are quiet, steady, syncopated, and we hear whispers of the chord progression in the background played on a synth, like a pad, that feels very fluffy, kind of like cotton candy, I guess. Um, Stromae sings from the perspective of a starving artist, an artist who has little to no money. You get a sense that they don't have a lot of material possessions, but they do have great aspirations, and they can't help but laugh at the thought that one day they can have it all. One day they're going to have a Grammy. One day all of their goals and all of their aspirations will come into fruition. Track number 9, Mon Amour, which translates to My Love. This is a genuinely gorgeous song, breathtaking production, if you ask me, on this track. It features rich, layered vocals, bright keyboards, and sparkly guitars that personally make me feel like I'm sitting on the beach with the love of my life, just enjoying life. But lyrically, a bit distinct. Stromae sings from the perspective of a man who claims to love hard, a hopeless romantic, if you will. But right at the very beginning of the song, in the first verse, he names off all of the women that he's loved, and it's a laundry list of names. And in the chorus, he claims that his love is promised and that it's true, but it's very clear that he's lost, and he's, for better or for worse, he's toying with the emotions and feelings of others. This song honestly reeks of self-pity and misunderstanding, but it's such a weird contrast because the instrumental itself is so gorgeous, but I guess that adds to the maybe delusion that we get from the perspective of the person narrating the song. Moving on to track number 10, Déclaration, which translates to declaration. The melodies are playful and lively on this song. The drums are full of life and movement. And Stromae sings of misogyny from the perspective of someone who hopes to see a change in the world, a change in that sense. But they understand that it's not going to be an easy shift. But nevertheless, this optimism remains. It's still there. It's persistent. Track number 11, entitled Mauvaise Journée, which translates to Bad Day, features an instrumental that is large. It feels kind of like foreboding, and it's dramatic in places as well. It features a subtle hints of brass instruments in here, various rhythmic guitars and strings, and a drum pattern that is big and it's steady, and that kind of drives in the sense of sorrow, but also heaviness that weighs down upon the narrator of the song. By the third verse, the instrumental does have glimmers of hope, of light, but inevitably the song does drift back to the melancholy that is present throughout the tune. Stromae sings of being in a deep depression. He sings from the perspective of someone who they just can't be bothered to try. They're weighed down by the pressure, and we sense that they just can't keep going. And we hear him speaking and singing on preferring to sink deeper into this depression, and we hear a preference to just sleep the days away. The song lyrically ends on a cliffhanger, as he says that there's a glimmer of hope and that tomorrow will be better, and the song just ends there, which he brilliantly weaves into the next song, which ushers in track number 12, entitled Bonjourne. This is also the last track on the album. Stromae switches it up completely for this one, with a beautiful hip-hop beat featuring spicy hi-hats and crispy snares, claps, and you've got some thick 808 kicks in there as well. We hear colorful strummed instruments playing together, and other found sounds. You hear sounds of birds, of just wilderness, the outdoors, a lot of nature sounds on here that paint a very vibrant scene, a stark contrast to the previous song. And we hear an ostinato, a choir vocalizing like an ostinato melody, and it adds a lot more character to what I feel is a very uplifting tune. This song, as I mentioned earlier, picks up where the previous one left off. And on this one, Stromae exclaims that today is going to be a good day. Waking up on the right foot, we hear him spin his perspectives that we caught glimpses of previously. He just spins them and turns them on their head. And he starts to realize that he can feel joy and he can make that joy multiply. He sings of movement, of dance, and of embracing the full spectrum of emotions that can and do exist within him. It's a really poignant way for him to end the album. Overall, honestly, I think that this was a beautiful album by Stromae. It's unclear to me. I'm not sure when he began working on this album. I don't know when production began, but it is clear to me that he has grown so much since his previous commercial release, Cheese. Sonically and lyrically, his music has evolved, and I'm happy that he is still making music. For a while there, I was starting to get a little bit worried that he was just not going to put out another album. He was putting singles out every so often, but they weren't many, they weren't frequent enough. It wasn't a lot of music, and I figured he must have been working on something, and here it was. This album to me feels like a very triumphant return to form for Stromae, and I love that he has taken his time to grow his sound. And some of his previous releases, you could hear some rawness to his music, but here, what he presents to us in this project is polished. Everything sounds perfectly placed. Nothing is filler. Everything has intention, and I love that. And honestly, I can't wait to see him later this year. He's going to tour for this album, and he's coming to North America towards the end of 2022, and I'm so excited to see him. So, if you get a chance to listen to this album, even if you don't speak or understand French, I highly encourage that you take the time to listen to his music. As I mentioned before, he is a huge inspiration for me. Um, a man of many talents, and I feel like he is not afraid to shy away from darker and more grim aspects of reality that he presents in all of his music. Really, it's an ever present energy that you sense in all of his music. And if you get the chance to listen to the music itself is beautiful, but I highly encourage that you take the time to look at the translated, if you speak English, the translated lyrics. It's a lot of meaningful songwriting from him. So, yeah, if you took the time to listen to me talk about and gush about Stromae, I really do appreciate that. I've been kind of busy lately, but I'm trying to work on a lot of different things at the same time, keeping my plate full. But if you have some music that you would like for me to listen to, if you just want to share something with someone and enjoy music for what it is with somebody else, you can always send something my way. I will take the time to listen to it, and I'll let you know what I think. Thank you. Have a great day.